General, this class, what you like most about it, what stands out to you about the class as a whole?
Well, we hit pretty much every single position. These guys are incredibly smart, and it's incredibly diverse across every single position that we could have. And this was really about energy and need to be able to continue to keep this a developmental program. And as you start to see, recruiting's changing. The schedule's going to change. The calendar's going to change. Right? The NIL changes college football recruiting. You've probably seen that today with news that broke of all types of things, right? Early signing period could change. A lot of things are going to change based on how college football recruiting is changing as well, and it's inevitable. But really proud of we stayed true to who we are, really a developmental program. And even the guys who are coming here that are transferring as of right now have multiple years. And I think that's really exciting that you get them for multiple years instead of just one.
And now as things shake out, we get to February, that signing day is almost, it's still there. Might there be somebody you still have? Might the portal still play a role here in the next handful of months?
Yes.
How does that work now? That's almost become a full-time job for somebody, I would assume, to keep an eye on that.
For somebody. Yeah, it just adds to the job of somebody else and all of us. And that's what we've got to all really look at, is as we start going into the portal, there's almost going to be a separate, I think, at some point, a separate department for the portal, and then a separate department for recruiting high school student athletes, and a high school relations department. Recruiting is your lifeline. I think a lot of people always ask, and people ask us this all the time, what do you do in the off season? Do you go somewhere? Do you have a cabin somewhere and you spend 9 months and just hunt and fish? Nope. We got to go get those players that you see out there. And usually the off season is busier than in season. And we're usually gone a lot. So we're recruiting these student athletes. So I think it's going to change that way. Obviously, resources are everything in college football. And you're starting to see this almost free agency. And when you look at the National Football League, how the landscape of college football is changing, it's directing itself and changing a little bit towards more, not professional football. We're still student athletes as of now. But it's having that feel of professional sports in the fact of free agency. There's a draft. There's a free agent market, right? And there's people leaving at certain times. May 1st is the last time somebody can leave and enter the portal. So we still have a lot of money. We don't know who's going to stay and who's going to go. So there's a lot of strategy involved in that. There's a lot of open communication involved in that. But somebody entering the portal is very different than it used to be. Just because somebody enters the portal, that is not a bad thing. The portal is designed to help student athletes find the best place for them if where they're at is not the best place for them. Doesn't mean it's not the best place for somebody else. For them, it's not the best place, right? Whether on the field, off the field, depth chart-wise, they're stuck behind somebody who's an All-American for 4 years. The portal is designed to help student athletes. But like anything, it can be used as maybe not such a good thing at times. So we just have to be able to iron out some things, and it's just like this. I use this analogy all the time. The new make and model of a car, right? It's got a new look, it's got a new engine, it's got a new full design. People always say, don't buy that car in year one. There's too many flaws. Well, last year was that year one of the portal. But now you see this tidal wave of portal transfers. Hundreds of kids at times a day entering the portal. And a lot of them will come out, and some of them won't. Some will end up in better situations and some worse. That's part of the portal, right? But it's used for all the right reasons, and I'm 100% supportive of it. And I have very open communication with every single one of my players about the portal. And we have very open lines of communication about entering the portal and what we should all do. Because it is a decision, because if somebody comes to you and says, am I ever going to play here? Where am I on the depth chart? What's the best options for me? There is now a portal option for that player. And whatever's good for the student athletes, I'm good for it.
I think last year you told us you went on some home visit and they grilled a bunch of steaks. Did you have oftentimes when a family hosts you and the staff, they'll make a nice meal. Did you have a favorite stop this year on the recruiting cycle of a good food?
I do. I usually don't eat. I usually don't eat a lot. I really don't. But when you go down to Zach Evans, right, with Grandma, they were buttering me up. But we had some ribeye steaks, and he had them all ready to go. And they have a huge island, and this island was just full of food. But I usually don't eat a lot. I keep it pretty small. And then Coleman Bryson's mom, she cooked just everything there was always something in the oven. For like the 2.5 hours we were there there was always something in the oven. But Coach Harasiniak was eating all of it. So I never knew what was really coming out between Kirk, his dad, and Coach Harasiniak. And they have an island that actually has room for about 16 people. You're talking about a huge island in the middle of their kitchen. They have a lot of the players over all the time. And but it was just, the oven was always on. A lot of cookies.
A lot of cookies. Sounds good. Yeah,
A lot of cookies.
You should bring me on one of those. I would always eat a ribeye steak.
You're always welcome.
Yeah, no, that's good. All right, last one. You mentioned West Virginia, the bowl game coming up in Phoenix. I know it's been a busy, busy month. Have you guys had a lot of chance yet to really dive into the Mountaineers? And how's the prep now go as you guys get ready to leave for warmer weather next week?
Well, I think the pop-ups to all of our assistant coaches would be like, yes, we've had plenty. I think we're coming up this weekend, everybody's going to take a nice 36-hour break. Take a little deep breath because we've been going nonstop. Our game plan has been going really strong right now. And, you know, we've done both. I mean, we're working on not only recruiting, but with also our student athletes, you know, preparing them for West Virginia, giving them a little bit of time to restore their bodies, strategically practicing the way we need to practice. And this is really important for the young players this time of year. You know, we're talking about an extra spring ball for the young players. You know, the Lemecki Brockingtons of the world and the Austin Bookers of the world. You know, I mean, those guys are getting a lot of reps right now. The Ethan Calicomanduses of the world. These guys are getting a ton of reps. Jamison Gears at tight end, our young offensive lineman. There's a chance for us to be able to build that depth. That's why that bowl practice is so important. Not for necessarily the Jack Gibbons and the Mariano Sori-Marins and the Coney Durs and the Boye Maffes. It's for those younger players. So we have a lot of young player periods during practice and really kind of elevating the floor of our program. And we're spending a lot of time on it. So our coaches, I'm telling you want to know what a college coach really goes through and does? You should do an internship with one of our assistant coaches. It would blow your mind how much they work, what they do, and how often they do it. And they've been working really hard, from really early in the morning till really late at night. And we're not here to talk about hours, because usually people talk about how many hours they work, really don't work very much. So we're not here to talk about the hours. We're here to actually, praise the job the coaches have done. And I get to be able to say, woo, we signed them. You know, these guys work incredibly hard and spend a lot of time away from their families and children. And we raise other people's kids for a living. That's what we do. And coach a game. And a lot of that pulls us away from our own children and our own families. And these guys deserve a lot of credit because they're the ones that actually make it happen. So if you wouldn't mind, give them one more round of applause. They do a great job.
Indeed. All right, hey, we'll let you get back to it. I know it's a busy time. You take that 36 hours off too. I give you permission to, enjoy some of the weekend coming up here.
We're good.
Yeah, you're good. All right,
awesome.
There he is, your head coach,
Thanks,
PJ Fleck. Very exciting times to be a Golden Gopher fan, no question about it. Let him slide on by, and a lot of really good players.